Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this third to last Saturday of the college football regular season. It is SportsGrid's College Football Today. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. He is the mastermind of the college football pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. And I am Ben Stevens. We start hour 2 with what I've been told is only going to be positive and a lot of nice thoughts
you have not.
About Ben's top 10. How I see the rankings around the country with the top 10 teams and those just on the outside looking in on the wait list. Again, I use some projection and the odds to factor in to these rankings. Here is the wait list right now. The teams just on the outside: Ole Miss, Georgia, Miami, SMU, and Colorado. You're already getting mad. What is the first thing?
So I would say that I go through the exercise myself.
You do.
There are multiple teams here that would be inside my top 10, and they are the two teams that lost last week in Georgia and Miami. Now, you having Ole Miss inside the wait list at least keeps me a little bit calmer, as I have, again, not that it needs to be hidden, but I've shown my cards throughout the week that I cannot stand Georgia jumped Ole Miss. They lost at home to Kentucky. What I will say on Miami is I think their resume stacks up more favorably than people realize. I think we have waited all season long for Miami to be got. They got.
Yeah.
I am not surprised they got. I do not think it was an atrocious, unforgivable loss. I think that Georgia Tech team, especially with Haynes King, has looked really solid throughout this entirety of the season here, and it was on the road. It was a single-digit number. I don't think that should have shifted the Hurricanes as much as it has for you, because you, similar to me, had them as a top 5 team last week.
I did. You're right. But I figured that with teams winning last week and looking in the way they did, we moved Miami just to the outside. We'll get to the top 10 in just a moment. I do want to make this point. Miami is the 12th and final team on the FanDuel Sportsbook that has a minus money, minus 130 price to reach the college football playoff. And despite a conference loss, SMU does not have any. Miami remains the favorite to win the ACC championship, and thus in the projected brackets that we saw on the Rankings Reveal show this week, Miami would earn that opening round bye as one of the 5 highest or 4 highest ranked conference champions around the country. And Joe, in comparison to unbeaten teams and one that has a single loss, Colorado has a loss in Big 12 play. BYU does not, and yet the Buffs enter this Week 12 Saturday slate as the favorites in the Big 12.
Yeah, it comes down to where are they at the end of the regular season? Are they peaking, or are they sort of tailing off where they were in terms of the dominance? You can make that argument that Georgia is tailing off. We saw the 34-3 Week 0 win over Clemson, and all of a sudden now they have 2 losses. They're on life support heading in terms of today's matchup against Tennessee. Colorado is the opposite, right? They started a little bit okay. They got to 500, and since they got to 500 and became bowl eligible, they have been playing very well right now. So I have no problem where they are. If they were able to win and get to the Big 12 championship game, they're deserving. The one team that stands out for me, and we made an assessment, was SMU. We laughed when they lost as basically a 12.5, 13-point favorite at home to BYU. They're undefeated, right? And they're hammering teams. I understand the resume in the ACC. We get that. But if we're making the comparison between Miami and SMU, there really isn't any, because SMU, outside that close game, has hammered and covered games.
Yeah, but Miami has they covered every game leading into the Georgia Tech game. They've been, I think, on a 3-game cover streak. They're covering on the road against Louisville.
But they didn't cover against Cal. They didn't cover against Virginia Tech.
You can't do the – they didn't cover – they had to been covering. SMU had been really struggling, and then they started to kind of figure things out there.
Since the SMU loss to BYU, the Stangs have won 6 straight, all 5 in the ACC. They have covered in 5 of 6. The only non-cover for SMU, that survival in overtime in Durham against Duke. Miami and SMU have the same best win. That is against Louisville.
Yeah.
I guess we would give the Stangs some credit for the win against Pittsburgh, although the Panthers have lost 2 straight. And I will just say this about Georgia, because there's going to be a lot of conversation about the Dogs, either on my wait list, but probably more in the projected college football playoff bracket entering Week 12 on the outside looking in. Georgia just 1-6 against the spread as a favorite this year. Their 2 covers in the season overall, 2-7 ATS. The Week 1 opener against the Clemson team, and the win outright as an underdog in Austin against Texas, which is the best win in college football this year. But Georgia is one of 9 FBS programs all around the country, covering in less than 25% of their games.
Which, again, that's holding Georgia to the standard of Georgia.
No, it's not.
Well, yeah, it is, because those numbers are based off of Georgia. Those are Georgia projected numbers. Those
for sure, but those numbers are projected for every team on the expectation of that specific spread.
Undoubtedly, but we play catch-up throughout the season, right? The reason Indiana's cover percentage is the way it is nobody thought they would be able to win 10 games. And the reasons that Georgia's is so bad is we expected the best version of Georgia within the last few seasons.
I disagree with that, because the cover margin on top of that for IU, winning their first 9 games by at least 14 points in all, was blowing away even what were shorter spreads, 6.5, 7.5 at times in Big Ten play.
No, right, but it took a long time for them to even catch up to IU, right? It just did.
Yeah.
It took them a long time. And here's what I will say with Georgia is I understand that they have multiple losses. They are to an Ole Miss team on the road, ranked here, and an Alabama team on the road by ultimately 19 total points, so inside single digits. The win over Texas, the rout of Clemson. We will get to this top 10. And again, we talk about the losses,
right.
But what about the wins? Georgia has better wins than all those teams.
Yes, they do. But think about this. They didn't cover against Auburn as basically a 20. They didn't cover against Miss State, gave up 31 points. It's not the same Georgia team that we're accustomed of seeing offensively and defensively. Last year, they converted 50% third down opportunities. This year, 38. They rushed for $192 on the ground last year. This year, it's 124. And Carson Beck certainly is not the same quarterback. 9 interceptions over the last 4 weeks. He only had 7 all of last year.
I mean, when you look at Georgia, the offense, which is where I thought Georgia would really shine this year, only averaging just a tick above 30 points per game. Last year, better than 40, top 5 in the country. All right, let's get to the top 10. We work our way in reverse order up from 10 through 6. I have Penn State barely hanging on inside the top 10, very different than where the committee has them at number 4. Boise State still in the top 10 at number 9. Alabama at 8. The head-to-head with Tennessee keeps the Vols in front, and BYU checks in at number 6, Joe.
Yeah, I really like BYU. They get this victory tonight against Kansas from a physical perspective, 10-0 overall. They can play with anybody. And again, we'll see how it plays out, but they are deserving of 6. And obviously Tennessee, I love the way they're playing defensively right now.
I'll just say this, and I'll say it on air. We should consider an audible and running deep on this, because people do love this segment, and we're not even scratching the surface, because this portion here, usually we've not had a lot to say about, and I have a lot to say about, and we're in that part of the calendar.
Yeah.
I have a lot of problem with this, though, again, I appreciate that you did it in a different way. The committee ranking Penn State 4th is abysmal, and it's unforgivable.
It is.
Nobody, including Penn State fans, think they are a top 4 team in college football, and we know that. They have 0 wins against a top 25 team currently ranked by the committee. There, I think, 1 win against a top 25 team who was ranked at any point was Illinois, which is insane because they're terrible. They went to USC, which was probably their second most difficult game, and they won in overtime by 3. And USC has lost Miller Moss throughout the season. That's how bad things are going. Penn State's resume is abysmal. I would not rank them inside the top 10. You barely did, which is fine. They're on the cut line there. I mean, they're 11 or 12 for me. But this team being ranked 4th is so bad. I'm telling you that. The SEC should be looking right now and go, yeah, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. Penn State's 4th because they played nobody. Yeah, we're out of here. I wouldn't blame them one bit.
I mean, that is where we are trending toward, at least in the CFP committee's eyes. Rest of my top 10, working our way up from 5 through 1 as we have it here. Indiana now in the top 5. Notre Dame at 4. Texas at number 3. And then the 2 Big Ten teams, Oregon 1, Ohio State number 2.
I really think we should call an audible. I really, really think we should call an audible.
All right.
I'm just saying, look, we got to break down Texas and Ohio State. They're inside this top 5. We can do it at the wall. I got a lot to say, and I'm not happy about it.
If the boys in the back are ready for it, let's make that switch. Check Panther, check Panther. Back on CFT next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
So that quick audible live right here on College Football Today. Some further discussion about the rest of the top 5 in my top 10, and then a couple of these teams playing on this Week 12 Saturday. So 1 through 5, Oregon number 1. No debate there, right? Most dominant team in the country at this moment. Ohio State, the national championship favorites,
Spot
number
on.
2. Texas, number 3.
Love it.
Goodbye that. Notre Dame, obviously.
I don't get it at all.
Oh, that's the one?
I don't get
used
it
to like
at
that.
all.
I don't know.
Pork rolls.
You know how you've set the precedent of a kinder Ben's top 10 this year?
I would like that.
I have truly been trying for an hour and 15 minutes to find a kind way to broach this subject.
Please.
And I have really struggled. So I'm going to I do not understand how a team who lost at home to Northern Illinois,
right,
but since it happened in week 2, gets this amount of grace. Realistically, their resume is not better than Miami's. Notre Dame does have the Texas A&M win. They have the win against Louisville. Miami has the win at Louisville. There is just no way that since it happened 2 months ago, losing to Northern Illinois can be this forgivable. Because this then says nothing that happens in the first 6 weeks of the season matters at all.
Well, that's basically the way it's been in college football. I mean,
but then why is the phrase, if I say full body of work, I'm talking about college football resumes.
But they also hammered Navy as well, that basically had no losses at the time that they played.
So that's not even my argument.
But
right?
I'm just saying that's another quality
kind of using
win.
your logic, though, about Georgia or Miami, right? And how, if we're looking back on the full body of work, one of the 3 best wins, 5 best wins this year in college football? Notre Dame's opener on the road at Kyle Field.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and then you take away the MAC games. And the Northern Illinois loss is a huge black eye and blemish on the resume. But against everybody else, they have been hammering teams. In their 7 games against non-MAC opponents, it started as a joke, and then it continues. They are 5-1-1 against the number, with some really quality wins in that stretch.
The win against Purdue is oddly one of the better wins of this college football season. I'm not even kidding. When you beat a team by 59 points, right? Like, Ohio State played them and only won by 45. Right. Oregon played them and only won by 35. I'm not kidding. The loss to Northern Illinois, if you were tearing out the worst losses of the best teams in college football, Tier 1, Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois, then you skip 2 tiers out of respect. That is so bad that It is incredible to me that they are being given this much grace.
But you're acting like we're doing a 14 playoff as opposed to like a 12 team.
How
well,
am I
because
doing?
I mean the argument is like I'm just saying like
I didn't get it for what it was
I'm
worth.
just saying like they were a 9.5, 10-win preseason win total.
Correct.
So if they would have went 10-2 and lost to A&M and lost to Louisville, you would have been better off at putting them in the top 10 that way. But because they lost to Northern Illinois, 16-14 as a 28.5-point favorite, but hammered Texas A&M and beat Louisville and beat Navy that was undefeated. I just don't get it. I mean, I feel like we're splitting hairs. They're playing great football right now. So why aren't they deserving of a top 5 ranking?
Because they lost to Northern Illinois.
You can't hold on to that.
No, you can, because you only play 12 regular season games. We don't play 82 like in the NBA.
So they should be 15th.
No, I think that they should be 10th, realistically. Because Joe, here's the thing: you brought up a scenario. I don't know if as a gotcha, but I said in real time, Notre Dame would have been better off losing to A&M and beating Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
And the odds reflected that. The movement of when they beat A&M versus when they lost to Northern Illinois.
But now you're nitpicking, right?
Not
because
really. They lost to a garbage MAC team.
You're looking at resume, not from quantity or the amount of something, wins or losses. You are focusing specifically on the result of an individual game. So if you're going to say the quality of the loss to Northern Illinois is the worst of any team even sniffing the top 25, but the quality of the win against A&M didn't actually matter as much, you're picking one or the other.
Well, can I ask one more thing? Who has a better quality win, Ohio State or Notre Dame? Because Penn State's garbage.
Man, you have this ability to swing and miss like I've never seen.
Well, because
obviously Ohio State, right? Obviously.
Yeah. All right,
Penn State's ranked higher everywhere, and it was on the road. It was by 7 as opposed to Notre Dame.
He can put his personal thought to the side and still understand it's a good win in Happy Valley.
I mean,
but again, it is very interesting to me.
Swing and miss. I just don't understand. Like, I mean,
clearly
they're 8-1. They have a top 10 pass defense in the country. They're giving up basically 12 points per game.
We have to remember the selling point on Notre Dame preseason was the schedule's a joke, right? And the schedule's unfolded. And it's actually worse than projected because Florida State has one win.
But that's not
and
their
USC,
fault, though.
I understand that, Joe. But Indiana has had a hard time cracking the top 5, and they are unbeaten.
But it's the name. It's the name. It's brand recognition. Everybody knows Notre Dame.
So you would rank Notre Dame based on name? What are we talking about here? Ben didn't rank them there because they're Notre Dame. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I wouldn't rank them there. They're not here because they're Notre Dame.
They're there because of what they have done against non-MAC competition, for what it's worth, in my college football playoff or Ben's top 10 rankings.
But hear me out. If we're talking about all of these teams and you're throwing in BYU, Indiana, and let's say they all have one loss, you know who's getting the inside track? It's going to be Notre Dame because
that's the reality of the situation.
That's what we're talking about, reality. We're in fictitious. We're in space.
No, we're in the real world. Here's the real world.
If this happens, that happens.
No,
we're in space.
The real world.
This is space
Ben really ranked them 4th, and in the real world, they lost to Northern Illinois.
So you know what, Marcus Freeman, after they lost, just disrupt the football.
Which was
dismantle
the
it. Don't play the rest
opinion.
Of the year.
He should have
break
been fired.
It up. Season's over.
This is you.
Yeah, I know.
That's
it. You know what?
Pulling the arm.
He quit Notre Dame. Season's over. That's it.
Again,
we're talking about quitting here.
I'm not talking about quitting.
So they have no shot to be in the top 10 or top 5 at all.
Top 5? No, they do not have a chance to be inside
Kevin's
the top
mind,
5.
we're all expressing our own opinions, right? These are my opinions. The College Football Playoff Selection Committee has revealed theirs. Kev is showing his own opinion, and you are demonstrating yours. We do have to preview a couple of games on the other side of the break, but this is the conjecture and the conversation that you get in the month of November. Just 3 more Saturdays to have these kind of arguments. And then, of course, we'll react to Selection Sunday and what the committee does in just a few weeks. We will break down a ton of games, including a couple of teams inside the top 3, up next on College Football Today.
sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you. Pinching your own cheek? As I was looking down and did not know we were getting...
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I feel like we haven't been at this desk for a while. Live right here on College Football Today. We set the stage now for week number 12 of this college football campaign. We're going to talk a lot of top 10 teams in action on this Saturday here in this segment. We start with the team that led to a lively and spirited conversation. That's 8th-ranked Notre Dame, according to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. Of course, number 4 in my top 10. 22.5-point favorite, Kev, today as they host Virginia. As I said, and one of the reasons they are a little bit higher in my rankings than perhaps others, they are 5-1-1 against the number against non-MAC opponents and absolutely rolling teams here as of late. Will that roll continue under the watchful eye of Touchdown Jesus?
No, and it's not their fault. They're against becoming one of my favorite coaches in college football, Tony Elliott. And that's because last week, Tony Elliott was in a spot that has now delivered consistently. Off a bye, he just wins outright as a dog. And he did it against a ranked Pittsburgh team. So I wondered then if there was anything to it, right? Does it kind of wear off? Hey, we got our big win, let's go to sleep? Well, those 3 times that he's won off of a bye and pulled off the upset, the follow-up has been a loss, but a pretty comfortable cover. This season, they nearly upset Louisville. They were leading in the 4th quarter. The year before that, they nearly upset Miami, catching 18.5. They lost in overtime, and 2 years prior, they were catching 2.5 points. Lost, but covered in quadruple overtime against Miami. So from what I've seen from Tony Elliott, off of a bye, he's going to get you 2 great ones. So today, UVA should hang inside the number against Notre Dame.
I thought that as well, and the more I dove into the line, the 22.5, I started to get a little bit scared off because I dove deeper in terms of their resume. And yes, they stepped up against teams like Wake Forest. They have 4 wins, got the cover on the road a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago against Clemson. That was a 20.5, 21-point number. They put up 31 points. It's not so much the offense that I'm concerned with. It's the defense breaking down against a bigger physical offensive line. And again, could Landry and that passing attack, it's all predicated on running the football, working off of play action. Can they attack that secondary enough to get to 200, 2.25 through the air? Like I said, they're giving up $148 in terms of the back end, the 48% completion percentage. So in order for Virginia, Ben and Kev, to cover this line, they got to get to 230, 240 in the passing attack. I don't know if they can get there, and seeing them get beat up by teams like Louisville, I reluctantly would lay it with Notre Dame. I don't like this game, but the total to me, 50.5, is standing out. I think we can get through that a little bit later.
So I've mentioned those 7 games for Notre Dame against non-MAC foes. They are 5-1-1 against the number. They have also gone over in 5 of those 7. Notre Dame has scored 49 points in 3 of their last 4 wins. They are now the 12th best scoring offense in the country and the 3rd best scoring defense in the country. To your point, the Cavaliers have been great as an underdog, favored in their first 5 games of the year, now an underdog in 3 of their previous 4. They're perfect against the number as a dog, including the outright win against Pittsburgh. But the only time UVA was a 3-touchdown underdog, against Clemson, that game went over. They allowed the Tigers to score 48 points. Just quickly here on Notre Dame. Their college football playoff price is minus 310. Entering the year, Notre Dame's win total was 10.5. The under had the juice. It was minus 170. Same price for the Irish to reach the college football playoff. That number now better, greater than 3 bills, and a 20-1 price to win the national championship. Now let's go to an old Southwestern Conference rivalry between Arkansas and Texas. The Razorbacks at home, now a 12.5-point underdog against the Longhorns. Joe, we know how good the Hogs are as a dog with Sam Pittman. Can Arkansas keep this game within the margin?
I think they can. Now, the concern was, a similar outcome happening a couple of weeks ago where Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, put up 526 yards through the air, 7 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That secondary got abused. That really favors Quinn Ewers in that passing attack. But extra week of preparation. Jaquindon Action Jackson is back. 52.5 is his rushing total. I think he can blow through that today. And Arkansas just steps up as an underdog, getting abused at home a couple weeks ago, playing for bowl contention. Give me the 12.5. This is one of my better picks today.
I like the under in this game. I'm taking the chance that Arkansas steps up here after getting absolutely embarrassed by Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I know that Ole Miss has had a really good season defensively. Texas is, though, at that level as well, so I think they will be able to limit the Razorbacks in this game. This number of 57.5 is a field goal higher than when Ole Miss played Arkansas.
Arkansas covered in its first 4 games as an underdog, in its first 4 SEC games as a dog under. They have not covered in their last 2 games as a dog, both at home. We shall see today in Fayetteville a renewal of a Southwest Conference rivalry. More on college football today, super fast next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, Only on SportsGrid.
We've called audibles. Now we must go at a rapid pace. That's what we do here on a Saturday on SportsGrid. It is college football today. How do we go fast?
We have to go very fast, so it's a little RPO time. The O stands for Ohio State, who, according to some, maybe no big wins this season. I don't know. It's been tossed out there. It's possible.
Penn State, come on. I mean, they beat them 7 straight times heading into that matchup. Come on. Penn State.
I said we got to go fast. We have to go fast.
Don't get me started on the Penn State, Ohio State.
We got to go fast.
They're playing Northwestern today, laying 28 and a half. I would look towards the Judkins bounce back. We talked about the sell high spot last week in the game against Purdue. It was actually one of his worst while being a member of Ohio State this season. His week-over-week rushing prop has dropped to 20 yards at 66.5. I could see him bouncing back here on the road.
Yeah, they've won 10 straight in the series. Last time they played was a couple of years ago. It's on a neutral field. In terms of Wrigley, the 43.5 has me intrigued. But again, I would take the points with Northwestern. 4-5 overall. They need to win out. Maybe they give it its best effort. Not a game I'm betting, but I would take the points. And you know what? I would take a shot on the 43.5 over.
Leaving the shores of Lake Michigan for the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. It is where Northwestern will host its final 2 home games this year in the Windy City. Double-digit underdog 5 times for the Cats in Big Ten play. Just 1-4 ATS, but an outright victory. That's courtesy of Maryland. Over in 4 of 6 games for Northwestern in Big Ten competition. Under in 5 of 6 for the Buckeyes in Big Ten play. The only game that went over for Ohio State on the road in Eugene against Oregon. Again, we go very, very fast. Next up, a rather compelling number that does intrigue me. In fact, slightly confounds me. 2.5-point spread. That's it. Prime time in Provo in favor of undefeated BYU against Kansas. Lisa Guy, when you look at this number, we know how good the Cougars are in Provo. Why is it only 2.5 in favor of an undefeated team against a 3-win football team in Kansas?
Because Kansas actually played the way they were supposed to play at the start of the year, putting up 45 points and 237 yards on the ground in Arrowhead last week against a top-ranked or a top 15 team in terms of Iowa State going on the road. They need to win out to just get to a bowl. I like the points. I think it's a fishy line, 2.5. A lot of pressure on BYU to remain undefeated, Kev. But I really like the over. I think we blow through that later today.
Yeah, the line to me is completely unsurprising. They think BYU is bad, and their belief is Kansas is good. We saw it last week with the Iowa State number where that was just 2.5. We've seen it in every single BYU. They are TCU. I'm pretty sure Max Duggan is going to replace Bretzloff at some point this season. It's what we've seen here. To me, the big question is, can BYU stay unbeaten in regular season play to give themselves security heading into a Big 12 title game where they're still heavy favorites to appear in, but I promise you they'll be dogs in.
They will be, because they're 50 cents back of Colorado right now to win the Big 12 championship, despite the fact they are undefeated and right now would be in first place in conference standings. Just quickly about BYU, 30-3. Straight up in true nighttime games, 7 p.m. Eastern time or later in the last 5 college football seasons since 2019. We'll have more on that matchup, comparing the quarterbacks. Jalen Daniels playing as expected in the last 3 for the Jayhawks, and BYU, that is Jake Retzloff, the quarterback for BYU. Now we head to Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette. Purdue playing host to Penn State. Kev, Nittany Lions 29.5-point favorite. Bounce back from the loss against Ohio State, doing what the Nittany Lions do, winning in a whiteout game and winning comfortably as a favorite. Comfortable number here, more than 4 touchdowns against the Boilermakers. How do you see it?
Yeah, first time for me that I lost 2 straight in a Penn State game this season. I don't know if Nick Singleton is in the doghouse. I don't know if Katron Allen has somewhere sneaky in an NIL deal that he has to take over this backfield. It's left me a bit puzzled here. I look at this game and lean Under, but I'm telling you, I'm circling this one like a shark. Let Penn State fall short of the expectations that we've seen from the Oregons and Ohio States of the world here, and I'll be pouncing all over it again. An absolute crime they're ranked 4th.
Yeah,
a crime.
They've won 10 straight in the series. It's Penn State or bust in terms of laying the spread. I can't bet this line. And Purdue's dead man walking. I mean, Walters hasn't really done a great job there in terms of West Lafayette taking over for Brom. Not playing well on the defensive side of the ball. Should be a blowout.
Just 5-11 against the spread as an underdog with Ryan Walters, an underdog in all 7 of their 8 FBS games this year. Just 1-6 ATS. Again, Penn State 29-1 straight up when they have been favored to win a football game since 2022. 21-8-1 against the number. They're just 0-5 straight up in games booked as an underdog. A compelling scenario today in Los Angeles. USC, sub 500, off a bye, making a quarterback change. Miller Moss on the bench, the San Diego State transfer. Jaden Maiava, now the signal caller for the Trojans. Quarterback news for Nebraska. Dylan Raiola, also off a bye, a week to get healthy, is going to play in this game. And Joe with a new offensive coordinator. Let the mullet flow, baby. Dana Holgerson in the air raid. Now going to be at least a component of what we see for the Cornhuskers. More than a touchdown number in favor of Southern Cal. What do you like today at the Coliseum?
Every time they sniff 6 wins.
5 wins, baby.
I told you I would much rather bet Nebraska when they have 6 wins than fighting for 5 wins on the flip side. I can't bet USC. They're totally gutless. I'll take the 7.5 points bet. But again, another game that I can't bet. I need to see it before I believe it. This would be another heartbreak. They lost 3 straight, Nebraska, by 20 points per game. They were in it against UCLA. That was their opportunity. They better get it today.
USC this season hasn't gone straight games without scoring 30 because Lincoln Riley still can do some things correctly. The fact that it's no longer Moss, to me, presents you can maybe get a little bit of a wake-up call here for USC. I would look to back a team total for the Trojans today. Safest way in my book to play it.
Jaden Maiava last year with the Aztecs, 12 starts, 240 passing yards, and 7 of those, 17 touchdowns to 10 INTs. USC just 2-5 straight up in the Big Ten, favored in 6 of 7, 2-4 against the number, and of course, straight up. Now we go to a game that features 2 quarterbacks who can run the football and are very exciting players at the collegiate level. For 18th ranked Washington State, it's John Mateer for the Cougs. On the other side, for New Mexico, Devin Dampier is quite a quarterback as well. 10.5 point spread, Kev, in favor of Wazoo, a top 20 team.
Yeah.
The difference for the Cougars, though, when it comes to what they do in terms of their college football playoff outlook, not in an official conference, so can't earn that automatic berth.
Yeah, I mean, and also they lost a boy. Their best win's like Texas Tech, who's a terrible football team there. So I look at Washington State in this spot, and I mean, their team total's a little bit tempting. I know it's in the big-time 40s, but this Lobos defense is atrocious. And just held SDSU to 16. They probably can't do it 2 weeks in a row.
They're hitting low with the
What
Texas.
do you mean?
Town. I know.
Oh,
Kick
what, no?
gloves.
Is
Come
that-
on. Let's kiss
I'm
and make
sorry.
up here. John Mateer, my guy, right? Not my guy.
Oh.
No,
he's
no,
not,
he's your
but
guy.
he's a gutty blue-collar quarterback.
Well, he's transferred to Texas Tech
Put a
next year,
little
maybe.
pinch between that cheek and gum and lay the 10.5. How about the 72.5? I think we get through that later today.
Last week against Utah State, total near 70 for Wazoo, 68.5. They went over. John Mateer, 5 total touchdowns in that game. Devin Dampier, 2,400 passing yards, more than 870 on the ground, 13 rushing scores, at least 105 rushing yards for Dampier in 3 of the last 4 for New Mexico. Will Iowa State bounce back? A perfect 7-0 start for the first time since 1938. And Kev, now they've dropped 2 in a row, including last week on the road in Kansas City against KU, laying more than a touchdown back at Ames against Cincinnati.
Season not done yet, though. Again, there's some help that could be had due to the way BYU will be booked in the rest of their games. For Iowa State, I do think they should be able to bounce back against Cincinnati.
I'll take the points with Cincinnati. Blue-collar team travels well. I think under the 53.5, though, is where we go.
Largest spread of the year for Cincy. Their first 8 games, all 6 points or under on either side for the Bearcats. The coach joins us up next.
the sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheeks as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Just 3 more Saturdays remain in the college football regular season in the 2024 campaign. We welcome you back to College Football Today, live right here on this Week 12 Saturday on SportsGrid. Now that we're getting to the most impactful time of the year, you need that coaching expertise. Coach Terry Bowden joins us live right here on CFT to look at this Week 12 Saturday slate. Coach, we appreciate the time. Last week, you were down at the Grove in Oxford to see Ole Miss's upset over Georgia. What did you learn about the Running Rebs, the Bulldogs, and what lies ahead for the rest of the season?
That was a great atmosphere. It reminded me how much an SEC game is, the atmosphere, and how much that is an advantage when the team builds off of it. But it was clear to me that Ole Miss is more talented right now than Georgia. And Georgia's not going to solve that with high school. They've got to go to the portal a little bit more, just like Ole Miss did. They learned a lesson there, but very talented Ole Miss team. They should not have lost a game this year. Even Kirby Smart said that after the game. And just amazing they lost to Kentucky earlier this year.
Yeah, that loss will sting for the Running Rebs. You saw right there, 28 years of college head coaching experience. So Coach Terry Bowden knows what he is seeing. Coach, Ole Miss off this week. They'll head to Gainesville next week to take on Florida. Georgia, not a lot of time to figure things out. Back at home between the hedges tonight in Athens as a 9.5-point favorite against Tennessee. It's the best game of the week. So in these 7 days, what do you think Kirby Smart has been instilling in his Dogs team?
Well, their backs to the wall. They know about playing for championships, and their backs to the wall. They've got to have this one, but they're playing Tennessee at home, and that's a huge home field advantage. Every time I went in there, it was hard to get a win when you go against Georgia at home. But Georgia does not run the ball well enough. I don't think they can solve it this year to give the quarterback, Carson Beck, chances to throw the ball when it's not a passing situation. On the other hand, Tennessee, their offense isn't quite the same either. Nico is not hitting the deep ball. He's banged up right now, and I think he'll be 100%. But even when he's 100%, their offense needs him to throw the deep ball. So it comes down to a great Tennessee defense, their ability to stop the run, and can Georgia just go out there and play errorless football and not turn the ball over. That's why at the bottom of the end of the day, I think Georgia's going to pull the win off. They're not going to – Tennessee in the spread, I take their points at this game. But I'm going to go with Georgia. I just think that I've never seen them lose two in a year, much less two in a row.
Coach, let's keep it at Georgia. Their offense has been a little inconsistent. They're not running the football effectively. Third down is a cause of concern. And I think the biggest issue now is Carson Beck. 9 interceptions over the last 4 weeks. As a coach, and more importantly, the offensive staff and Mike Bobo, how can they limit the turnovers by Carson Beck? Is it maybe short throws to get him into a rhythm? Because you want him to have confidence, especially early on at home.
Well, I think you saw that in the second half against Ole Miss where he rolled out and threw shorter passes. But like the ways they can't solve this, they don't run the ball well enough. And I'll say this, they don't have the tight end they had last year. When you have to have a short completion, you got to have a great tight end. They don't have that. And so really Carson Beck is part of the problem because he's pressuring himself to make things happen when they're not there. And so what he's got to do is not think he can win it on his own. Run the ball enough to keep the game close and depend on your defense against a Tennessee team that's not hitting the vertical pass, not hitting the deep ball as much either.
Georgia's offense last year, top 5 nationally, averaging more than 40 points per game. This year, just a little bit above 30 points per game. That's 7th in the SEC. Coach Bowden, another SEC team looking for a bounce back. That's LSU today on the road as a slight favorite in the Swamp against Florida. 2 consecutive losses for the Bayou Bengals. What resolve do we see out of Brian Kelly and his Tigers today?
Well, I'm going to tell you, again, they've got to have a good win to come out. I've never seen 2 coaches that need a win more than these 2 head coaches, and they're good coaches. I know them. I've watched them over the years, but they're in bad situations. And LSU is in the exact same situation as Georgia. I don't understand it. You don't have a dual-threat quarterback. They're decent runners, but they're not great runners. And Nussmeier is not a great runner, and yet they don't have a standalone running attack. And so now he ends up throwing on long third-yard situations and eventually having turnovers, and that's what's happening at LSU. They've got to run the ball well enough against Florida to win this football game and depend on Florida, knowing that Florida is not where they were. They don't have their starting quarterback. They've been through a couple, and that they have the struggles themselves. Both of these teams have their confidence is very fragile. So if anybody jumps out front, gets ahead of the other, I don't see a big comeback.
Coach, what happened with LSU's defense? Once Marcel Reed came in basically 3 weeks ago, he exposed that defense, and now they can't shut down a mobile RPO type of quarterback. Is it just the fact that Texas A&M exposed them, or is there a deeper weakness now with Blake Baker's unit?
I think the more the conference sees the defense, they begin to see their weaknesses, how to attack them. I think that's what happened. The speed of the defense, the lack of the talent up front, and I think as they got exposed. Still think it's a great defensive coordinator. He just doesn't have the weapons that he has to have on defense to be that good. Now, Lagway, let me say this: he is a pretty good dual threat quarterback. But I don't think with a hamstring last week, they're bringing him back. They say he's okay, but after it gets hit a couple of times, I don't know how good that hamstring will be. I don't think he's going to be as big a threat because I don't think he can go full speed. And that's why I think LSU is good enough to cover and win this game.
I wonder how much mobility DJ Lagway will have as well, Coach. One final game in the final minute of this segment, a Big 12 battle early, 10 a.m. Mountain Time over in Boulder, Colorado. The Big 12 favorites hosting Utah as a 13.5-point favorite. Coach, how competitive is this game today between CU and Utah?
Colorado's going to cover. I love this Colorado team right now. I tell you, in the last 4 games, they protect their quarterback, and for a year and a half, they were the worst in the country almost in sacks and pass protection. But they can now protect their quarterback. They're playing better defense. Utah's got the number 1 and number 1 scoring and defense in the conference. But a couple of late touchdown passes to Hunter and Webster, and they'll pull it out and win and cover.
Yeah, Utah has gone under in 7 of 9 games. They'll have to rely on that defense. Colorado's defense, Coach, much improved from where it was a season ago. The coach, Terry Bowden, enjoy this Week 12 Saturday slate in our third to final of the regular season. College football today is back to round out Hour 2 up next.
sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to college football today, live right here on SportsGrid, ending out this second hour of our third to final Saturday of this college football regular season. Joe Lisi, Kevin Walsh, and Ben Stevens, we get you set for some winning bets on this Week 12 Saturday, first in the end zone.
Yeah, folks, let's hit it here. That end zone excellence. It's time for some pay dirt picks. I've done well here, and sometimes people will say, you know what, I have the chance. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I preface that because sometimes people will do that and go, let me take a shot. Let me take some longer odds.
Yeah.
That's your department. I'll let you handle that. For me, I'm giving you chalk, but it's because we talk about college football prices, and I believe Nate Frazier should be booked in that, we already know he's going to score range, minus 300. ETN is out for Georgia. Frazier has been making inroads in this backfield already, and now should get the bulk of this workload, if not 95% of it. One of those two backs has scored in 6 straight games. Georgia's at home with a 28.5 team total. One of those touchdowns is going to belong to Nate Frazier, Joe.
I like the look. Tennessee has given up basically over 140 yards rushing in back-to-back games against Kentucky and Miss State, so that might be how Georgia attacks that, even though they didn't get it going last week. I'm going with Georgia, but I'm going tight end. We heard Coach Bowden say lack of Brock Bowers in that lineup, red zone opportunities. I think that screams tight end. I think they could create mismatches. We know how good Tennessee's defense and secondary is, but 4-1 is too much to pass up. Give me Lawson Lucky today to hit pay dirt.
I look at Kansas's quarterback, Jalen Daniels. He is playing like we expected him to, maybe last year and this season. 4 consecutive games hitting pay dirt, utilizing his legs, and Kansas has covered in 3 in a row. Now we get all the boys in the back involved. Joe Frizo, Dylan Sampson at minus 120. Tennessee's running back, one of 4 players to hit pay dirt 20-plus times this year. You're pretty much banking on, will Tennessee score? Dylan Sampson to score at minus 120. From Friezo to Freeze. That's our technical director, A.J. Freeze. Isaiah Bond, plus 105. The Texas wideout today in Fayetteville. And our executive producer, Christopher Kofsky. Here it is. I am not going to be the mush for you, Kofsky guy. Antonio Williams, plus 110. Clemson's wideout today, taking on Pitt. All right, those are all the pay dirt picks, the end zone excellence. Now some plus money.
Yeah, we got to open that vault up and go for the loot. I probably should apologize for what I've done this season.
Yeah.
Ben's anger with me is
smearing the good name of the GT.
But it's here's why. Is I would be having an awesome Grafratzalasa season. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
Last week I looked at Ben and go, if I did this the way I was supposed to, it would easily be Virginia. And then they went outright. And I thought to myself, do it the right way.
Right.
Give people San Jose State.
For sure.
Do that.
Yeah.
Nah, Russian touchdown each quarter, Tennessee, Georgia. What if this game has juice, Lisi? Usually high scoring, plus 880 to sneak a few in?
Well,
Come
they had
on.
48 points last year, 38-10, so 46.5 light number. Maybe you can get me on that. I'm going out in Fayetteville, baby. Smash job. Give me, Big Suey, plus 390 of those hogs. They might be balking. Plus 390.
Do hogs spark?
They might in Lisi's backyard. You never know.
Well, feral
Could be a
hogs
little bit
running around all
could be
over
a
the
little
place.
bit of a hybrid over there.
They
You
could
don't even
describe
know.
you as a feral hog.
That's not nice. Not nice.
No, that's-
I think that's pretty
You know
fitting.
what? Put him in the bathroom. He doesn't want to be the mush. Lock him in the bathroom. That's it.
Plus 390 for Arkansas. 21-11 against the spread as an underdog with Sam Pittman. Best in the country in the last 4.5 years of any team booked as a dog 20-plus times. Can't bet on Nebraska until they get that 6th win. We'll start betting on them next week again, Lacey Guy. Nebraska reaches bowl eligibility for the first time since 2016 with the outright win today in L.A. against Jaden Mayava and USC. Matt Rule will deliver, and Dana Holgerson, will lead the Cornhuskers to bowl eligibility.
We might have to clip this and save it for later because if Matt Rule has that dumbfounded look on it.
Do it. ISO him. ISO. Take the ISO
Take
shot.
the ISO. Matt Rule. He's searching for win number 6 the last 2 years.
Is it a live meme? That was really good. And people say you're not with it.
They say I'm not with it. Gen Z, baby, in the house.
Someone said, not me,
What?
someone said that's the face you were making when we were doing Ben's Top 10, and I was asking you questions. Not me, I didn't say
It's
that.
possible.
You got to pump it up, and you got to put the threes up for hour number 3, our third and final, on the other side of the break.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, hey, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was
that's what your
looking down
grandma
and did
does,
not
right?
know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Together, both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.